Okay, so first of all, table of contents. I'm gonna talk for a minute. Who am I? Later about two schools of game design I use to design my games. Core concepts in puzzle design. Where I'm going to show some case studies. What works, what doesn't. Testing methodology, how I test my puzzles, how I design them, and something about running your own game studio and team. Okay, so who am I? First of all, I have a normal day job like everybody else. I'm a full stack web app developer. So basically, I make applications that work in browsers, and I'm doing this for factories, because turns out big factories also need some nice modern tools and interfaces. And after normal work, I run my own indie studio. And yes, I know that's kind of weird that I have my own studio and I still work, but there is a good reason for that. But never mind that. Outside of that, I'm also 3D artist and I study on weekends computer graphics. Yeah. So first of all, I'm gonna give you some context and I'm gonna show you my games. So the first one is Take Notes that I published a year ago. It's an escape room. The story is pretty simple. We are closed, trapped in a bunker, and we need to escape it by solving some puzzles. We have 40 unique puzzles to be exact in the entire game. And we do that with combinations of different mechanics. Like we can click, switch things. Like here we have items and inventory system and notes that give us some story, some more information. And yeah, generally the game is divided into 11 levels. And on average, players play it like 2 or 3 hours. And all of this time, they solve puzzles. Okay. So the next one, the one I'm working on right now, that is in production. This is a teaser from 3 months ago. So it's maybe a little old. Now the game looks a little better, but that's going to give you some context, right? Generally, it's a mix of Portal and Details Principle. So a gameplay is like in Portal, we have a room, we solve a puzzle, we leave the room, and we solve another puzzle in another room. But we do not have portals like in Portal, we have lasers like in Talos. But also the puzzle elements are not static like in Talos. They have physics like in Portal. So I think that's pretty interesting mix. And yeah, we are working on it right now. I'm planning to release it 6 months from now, in the middle of the next year. And okay, now puzzles. So first of all, we should define what is a puzzle, and in simplest of terms, it's a goal the player needs to achieve, blocked by obstacles they need to overcome. So, for example, our goal is to open the doors, but they are blocked by keypad with code that we do not know, and we need to find the code, right? Okay, and there are generally two schools of designing games. I mean, you could probably say there are more, but those are the main one I'm using. And it's pretty much Take Notes versus Rainbow, my two games, because one uses the linear approach and the second one uses the modular approach. And now, what is what? A linear approach is, well, every puzzle has its own logic, its own programming. Every puzzle is unique, and I needed to code everything separately. And well, the advantage of this is that we have a full control of the experience of the player. So we can, kind of hold the hand of the player. We can show him where to go. And because of that, well, we can control how he feels in given moment. And yeah, here we have 3 puzzles, right? And each one of them is its own separate thing. One does not interact with another. But we combine the result, kind of. I mean, one puzzle will give us a key, the second puzzle will give us a code or something, and we can use those in different puzzles. And now a modular approach. That's a little different because here we use blocks, like Lego bricks, and we build puzzles by combining them. So here we define how different elements interact with each other. And here we define the, rules of a single puzzle. So those are 2 different methods of designing games. And to give you some more perspective, the linear approach would be also used in games like, for example, Tomb Raider or Uncharted. In those games, we sometimes have levels where, for example, armored car is chasing us and shoot at us. And we cannot escape this armored car before the developer says so. No matter how good the player would be, it's scripted, right? We cannot escape it unless it's end of the level. And that gives full control of the experience. But here, in the games like Portal or the Talos, we give the player Lego bricks that he can use. And that doesn't give us full control of the experience because player may have no idea how to use them in given situation. But on the other hand, it enables players' creativity. So one school is not better from the other, but we need to use them in appropriate situations. And yeah, in Take Notes, it's a linear game pretty much. And I want to show you how we implemented different puzzles, different mechanics in order to get the most out of it. And this is the moment where I show you the rules of designing puzzles, how I do it, what works, what doesn't. So on the screenshots, you can see one of two rooms in the first level. So basically a tutorial, and that's why it looks how it looks. So if you look on the right screen, we have 3 different objects that player can interact with. And let's look at this item over here, this key. It's first level, right? So player doesn't know that he can interact with something. He doesn't know the game has items in it. So I had to make sure it is visible. So that's why it's under the lamp, it's well lit, and it's lying on a white piece of paper, which creates a nice contrast with the environment. So Basically, it's as visible as it could be for its size and color. And that's just because I did that because it attracts attention. The player will simply see it better, so the player will want to interact with this. The second thing, this note over here, as you can see, uh, it can be seen from far. And again, the same story, we create a contrast with the environment. It's white piece of paper on a black board, and on a dark board. Um, so again, it's simply visible, and the player will want to interact with it. And the third thing, we have this weird keyhole on our closet. And because it's so big, it's like extruded from the doors. And it has a big weird shape inside of it. It's simply kind of out of place. So again, it attracts attention of the player. And that's exactly what we want. We doesn't really care that it doesn't necessarily look realistic. The player needs to see it. That's our goal. And again, because it's out of place and the player sees it, he will interact with it. And yeah, why we even do that? Why we want the player to know what is a puzzle and what isn't? We want to make it obvious because if we want, the player will start to simply check every single corner, check every single wall, click randomly on everything. And we doesn't really want that because, well, it's getting frustrated. The player can get frustrated. And if the player is frustrated, he doesn't have any fun. And we want the player to have fun. Yeah. So the next rule, or even rules, is fair puzzles with clear internal rules and provide feedback. So very important thing in puzzle design is to be consistent. We doesn't need to show the player at the start what the rules of the puzzles are, but they need to stay consistent. We cannot change them in the meantime because it destroys fun. I'm gonna explain why in a moment. In this example, this is a puzzle from Take Notes. We have 4 towers, and each tower is divided into batteries, I call them. So each light is a single battery. And we can move the energy from one tower to another by using those buttons below. But we cannot control how much energy we transfer. We simply transfer as much as possible. So here in the second from the left tower, we have 5 slots. So if I decide to transfer from the left to this one, I'm gonna transfer exactly 5. And I'm in the end, in the left one, I will have 2 left. And transferring between different columns, we can get different amounts of this energy in different towers. And the final goal is to have exactly that much as this line shows in this tower. And yeah, that's our rules of this puzzle. And players, while playing with it, simply find out about it because they will experiment and they see that. We provide feedback because those batteries light up or they don't. They're on or off, dark or light. So we feedback the player with the information that he actually transferred the energy, right? He knows what he did, what happens. But now imagine that I would decide to implement something like every 5 moves on this puzzle, we randomly add 1 point of energy to random tower. or randomly remove 1 point of energy. And that, well, is not really logical. The players would have a problem understanding why it happens. Random things are generally not good in puzzles. Mm, if the energy from this disappears, the player doesn't know why, doesn't understand why. And if he calculated that he needs to make a move like this and like this in order to, fill this tower, and it would randomly disappear, his calculations would be simply wrong, and he would need to start over. And that's why he would get very frustrated. And if he's frustrated, there is no fun. And we want player to have fun. Okay, the next rules are give the player some tips, and the player must know that he solved the puzzle. So, in this example, we have a puzzle built from domino bricks. And well, during testing, turns out that there are many ways of playing the domino, different versions of it. I didn't know that while designing this puzzles, but now I do. And that's I needed to give a player a little hint. What kind of version, what version it is of domino, how it is supposed to be played. So in another room, I just place those little bricks that, well, show what the rules are. And I did that because during testing, I said somebody pointed out that he doesn't know what he's supposed to do in this puzzle because, well, which version of domino is it? Am I supposed to try each one? I know that's not a really good approach. So if we have a puzzles like this one that has many possible interpretations, we should give the player some hints how to actually work with it, how to solve it. And also the player must know when he solved the puzzle for similar reasons. Uh, I could be rotating those bricks back and forward, and I could solve the puzzle, but if there would be no indication that it's finished, I could be doing this over and over again. Even if I would have a correct solution, I wouldn't know about it, so I would keep uh, rolling those bricks. And well, that's not good. In this example, this puzzle opens those doors. So we have a very clear visual indication that we solve it. Visual and also sound indication because the doors have sound of opening. But now imagine that those doors would be on the other side of the level or in another room behind the wall. How do we know that we solved the puzzle, right? In Take Notes, we do not really have that problem because I implemented a smart functionality. If the puzzle is actually solved, I just entirely freeze the puzzle. We cannot interact with anymore. I cannot rotate those bricks anymore. And that's the case for every single puzzle. So if it's solved, you cannot touch it anymore. So the player knows that we solve it. But anyway, I always give well, this indication, the solution very close to the puzzle. So it's as clear as possible. And yeah, now let's move on to the testing methodology. So I need to explain what play testing is, because it's a little different than simple testing. The playtesting is when we observe a player as they would be a wild animal. So we do not interact with them. And we do that because that gives us the most objective point of view on how well the game is designed, how well it's balanced, how logical it is. Because normally, often when you test the game with somebody, you explain some things to him or her. You show some things, you talk with them. But that doesn't give you any information on how the game actually will be interpreted by somebody that buys the game on its own. So that's why we do not interact with the tester during testing. And that gives us the most objective point of view. And yeah, this is an interesting example of why it's so important. This is a simple level, one room, and we have one puzzle here next to the doors. I don't know if you can see that, but there are some rings with symbols, and we need to rotate the rings so, well, the symbols are arranged in a specific order. And some of those symbols are on the walls. I'm not going to say what the exact solution is, but I need to say that there is a catch in this puzzle. It's not straightforward as it might seem. And the whole puzzle is based on that fact that the player needs to think a little more. But yeah, I also need to say that before playtesting this room, he looked a little differently. You see those crates on the left and right. Earlier I had like an U shape here, so this middle top one was not here, and this one I'm pointing at on the right was also not there. So it wasn't as symmetric as it is right now. And that was a problem to solve because, as I said, the puzzle is not so straightforward as it might seem. So the players didn't know how to solve it right away, right? And what many people did, they started counting those crates and assign those symbols some order based on that. So if I have two crates here and one here, I'm gonna say this one should be first and this one should be second. But that's not how you solve this puzzle at all. But people were locked in, and that was very visible during playtesting. They were thinking that there is a correct solution. That's how they're supposed to interpret it. And that's why they couldn't solve the puzzle, because it really wasn't. They didn't see the other options they had. Options that I wanted them to see. So what I did, I made the room look like it looks right now. So, we have two crates in every column, so they don't start to count them. And that's why they think a little longer, and they finally catch what's going on here and how they're supposed to solve it, and actually solve it, right? So that's why playtesting is so important. If I would be sitting with the player and, just told them that it's not how you are supposed to do it, I wouldn't know how big of a problem this is. And if that would be published in final game, so many people would get stuck here. Like, I don't want that for people to be stuck. Because puzzles are supposed to be solved. That's when they give us fun, when we actually find the solution. And yeah, many people ask me how I even design those puzzles, because in Take Notes we have 40 of them, and in Rainbow I have 50 levels. So that's a lot of puzzles to design. And yeah, generally I use two approaches. First one is start backwards. So first we define a reward, a goal the player needs to reach, and then I figure out how to uh, effectively block the player from reaching it. And I need to give him tools to actually overcome that blockade. Um, and the second approach is to start with an idea for a specific obstacle. I'm gonna explain that in a moment. Yeah, so for this level in Rainbow, I had an idea to have two lifts on the level next to each other. So one is here, you can see it, and it goes up, and one is here in the floor, it goes up to here to this first shelf, I call it. And well, I put those two lifts. I mean, when I started designing this level, I put those two lifts first, and then I designed around it. So, I figure out that if this lift goes up to here, I need something for the player to stand on. So I created this shelf, and we have some lasers there we can interact with. And to interact with them, we need to take one of the cubes from the bottom up there. And to do that, well, we need to, do some magic. I mean, we need to find a solution. There's no point of me explaining it right now how exactly you can play it soon. You will find out for yourself. But generally, yeah, it started with two lifts. I designed around it. It may be a better example would be in Take Notes, actually, because if I have a lot of unique puzzles, it's more visible simply. Let's, for example, say that I had an idea for a key that have movable elements that can rotate, for example, and that gives us different shapes of the key. And well, if that's my idea, now I need to figure out what the key opens, how do I get the key, and what tells me how to actually shape the key. So yeah, starting from the middle, which is a little different from starting backwards. Here's a very simple example. The first level in Rainbow, actually. So we simply have a doors we need to open. And well, how do we do that? We need to put a cube on the pressure plate. So yeah, first I put the doors, then I put the pressure plate, and I say the one can open the other. Yeah. And generally speaking, I do not design puzzles from start to end. Most of the time from end to start. Because it's just simpler. You can trust me on that. And it's not like this level wouldn't well be created if I wouldn't start from the middle. I also could say that I want the final doors to be high under the ceiling, and I would start from this point. I would need to figure out how player can get into that door, how he can open it. And then I would also probably create that shelf and some lift that can, move player vertically from one to another. So it's not like one way is better from another, but those are two like frameworks I use for designing them. Yeah, and generally that will be all for puzzle design. I'm also supposed to say something about running your own game studio, so that's what I'm going to do right now. And maybe starting from the end, how I got here. I want to say that designing games is, well, pretty hard job actually, and it requires a lot of training and experience. But it's nothing you cannot do on your own. I'm actually 100% self-taught, so yeah, it is possible. But it took me like 5 years to publish my first game on Steam. I'm not talking about the take notes. I published one before that, but it's not really good, so I'm not even showing that. But yeah, 5 years of like hobbyist work after hours to get to the point when I can actually publish something. And yeah, I should say that I made a lot of mistakes, and maybe that's why it took me so long. Because it always I made a lot of games that I didn't finish. I mean, I started making games, I did not finish them. I had like maybe 6 to 10 projects that, well, were never finished because they were, for example, too ambitious. I didn't have enough skill for finishing them, for creating them. Um, Me and my team, because I always worked in a team. Um, yeah, it, I want to say that I want to jump to the first point. So designing our own games. Here's a very important rule I learned during creating take notes, which actually was, which when not applied was pretty destructive in those games I did not finish. Let me explain. In take notes, my team and we took an approach where we have one person that actually decide what will be the game, what will not be the game. Because earlier in those unfinished projects, uh, we always have a rule that everybody's ideas are equally good and we should implement as much of them as we can. But it doesn't really work because uh, not everybody knows what they're doing, especially if you're a hobbyist, team of hobbyists. And well, randomly uh, adding some ideas doesn't make the game better. In my opinion, the game needs to always be consistent and give as much fun as possible. And that's not equal to let's add as many ideas as possible. So, for example, why it's bad. We had the situation like in one of my first projects that we didn't exactly know what kind of a game we want to make. We were arguing between factory game like Factorial or Satisfactory and shooter like Doom. And well, we couldn't agree what we want to do. So, well, we had a compromise and we decided that we want to make a factory game with Doom-like shooting. So, the enemies would attack our factory. And well, that didn't quite work because now we combine two very different genres. And to be honest, we just have twice the work to do because we have twice the mechanics to implement. And if we are hobbyists, we don't really know how to even do that. So yeah, even making a single game was hard enough. Now we really want to make two. I mean, we have to do as much work as for two games. And as you know, I did not finish that. My team did not finish that. We simply had not enough skills of time or money. So yeah, one person that decides. One person's vision for the game is generally a way to go, in my opinion, because if we have a person that understands the game, and it's supposed to be a person that implements most of the mechanics, so they know how the game works, how the game feels, what can be added, what cannot be added in a simple way. So in my team, I have that role, and I need to balance if we have enough time to add a given idea, if the idea will even fit, because sometimes there are situations in my team where somebody says, well, we did it that way, but maybe we'll change it. Uh, maybe we'll change it like to something entirely else. And I am often like, but why? We already did the work, and you want to change the genre of the game right now in the middle of the work? And earlier in those previous projects, we would actually go with it because the idea sounded amazing. But now I simply know that there's not enough time for it if we want to, well, finish the game anytime soon. So the idea goes to, well, trash, simply. Uh, but don't understand me mm, like I'm trashing all of the ideas. Some ideas are good, and I actually implement them, but every single one requires me to, well, consider it carefully, what works, what doesn't. And yeah, that would be how to finish projects and how to design our own games. Uh, so simply have one person that decides, and that should be a person with the most experience with the game and game design generally. Yeah, and that would be all. Thank you. If you have any specific questions, contact me on LinkedIn. I will happily answer. And I also can answer some questions right now because I believe we will have some.
Yeah, we already have questions. Yes, first question, and for public is interesting. How do you publish puzzle games? Are you doing it yourself or are you working with a publisher? Uh, and as far as I know, puzzles are quite a specific genre with a small audience. How do you promote puzzle games?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. First of all, I do publish myself. We do not have a publisher or anything like that. And yes, that's a very specific genre with a small audience. Uh, Maybe I will start with saying that I started creating tech notes because I love puzzle games and I finished every single one on Steam that was interesting to me. So I decided to create my own. So yeah, it's a small audience. There is now a lot of games. So it's a little easier to, paradoxically, it's a little easier to find our own audience because, well, it's a closed environment, you can say. I mean, not really close, but I think you know what I mean. And how do I promote it? Yeah, promotions of games are generally a very hard topic. To be honest, my team still don't know how to do it well. What worked for Take Notes, um, we took part in something called Steam Next Fest. So the festival where you can play demos of games. This is event twice a year, and uh, during that time, the Steam simply displays a lot of demos on the main page of the store. So that's the time when somebody can randomly, find your game. And yeah, that was a very good move to take part in it because before Steam Next Fest, we had something like 100 wish lists. But after it, I had 1,500, 1,500 wish lists. So a lot for this kind of game. And yeah, thanks to that we sold some copies, a lot actually. I mean, maybe not a lot. I can say we sold around 2,000 right now. Mm, yeah, maybe it's not a lot, but I'm happy with the result. Yeah. Do we have the next one?
Yes, we have next question related to your team. How you found your team and what the main roles when you need to prepare such a game, for example? How much people need?
Okay, so generally I say you need three main roles in a team. It doesn't mean you have to have three people because one man can have two roles or even those three. But generally, for making games, you require a programmer, somebody that will code the game. You require an artist, somebody that will make 3D models or 2D art, depends on kind of game you're making, and somebody for the sound, for the sound of the environment and for the sounds like music. Uh, you also should have somebody like a game designer, somebody that decides what goes, what doesn't, somebody that knows what he's doing, more or less at least. And it's nice to also have somebody for the marketing, for the promotions. And yeah, those three main and two additional ones. It's ideal if you have all five, but the three first ones will be enough for the most games. Now, how I founded my team. So I have an artist that I just worked for a long time. Uh, he was with me like pretty much always. When I started those 6-7 years ago with game dev, we just randomly found ourselves on Discord. And from that point, we just work on every single failed and not failed game together. And other people I just found by searching also on Discord. There are game dev servers where you can post an information that you are working on a game and you're searching for people. And they usually require you to say something about the game, to say who exactly you are searching for. And yeah, I just wrote a post like this. I posted it, and few people contacted me about it because they also wanted to make a game, right? And this way, I've found 4 people. So yeah, one I knew before, 4 I found online by posting uh, this post. Yeah.
Okay. And what's your advice for game dev beginners on how to start implementing their ideas into games?
Okay, so pretty much what I said before. Uh, if you work in a team, have one person that decides, but if you are working alone or simply just start and you don't really have an idea for a big game, uh, you should start small. So your first game, in my idea, should be something like a Flappy Bird clone or Mario clone, because uh, then if you do a clone, you know exactly what the game is supposed to do and how it's supposed to look like, and that simply allows you to get familiar with the game engine you are working in. And the games like Flappy Bird or Mario are pretty simple, so it's not a lot of work and can be simply implemented. Uh, yeah, that's for the first game. Your second game, I say, is supposed to be something like a clone with addition. So, for example, Flappy Bird, but inverted. You move the walls, not the bird, and you're trying to kill the bird. Like a simple, a simple idea, um, and that allows you to get a little creative and see what works, what doesn't in the engine you are working in. Because earlier you were familiarized with the engine by cloning. Now you can try something on your own idea, and by still implementing something as simple as that, uh, you have a small problem to solve, not the entire game at once. And yeah, the defer game now you have some knowledge of how games work under the hood. So now you will have a point of view that is more realistic, and you can start thinking about something bigger, but still don't make something too big, because many people uh, start with an idea like, I want to make GTA 7, and the game as huge as GTA is made by hundreds, if not thousands of people, uh, and they do it for years, literally. So if you want to do this alone, good luck. You are never going to finish that, like I didn't my games. Um, so yeah, start simple. That's my main advice. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot for such a great presentation. Also advices. I'm also started to think about my game, maybe to start something, to write something. Yeah, thanks a lot. Maybe you have some questions, colleagues, please write in the chat. You have chance to ask.
Yeah, I'm happy will answer any question.
Okay, I don't see other questions. Thank you very much for your presentation again.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Then, and we will have our next call after next presentation, tech talk after 5 minutes. Thank you. See you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. Once again, you can contact me on LinkedIn if you want. Uh, Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.